Okay, I don't even remember how to invite people to this thing. Okay. You guys can follow along over here.
Okay.
So there's not that much that we need to do. It's just that I think it's good to check on things.
Okay.
Let me just tell everyone else that we're here. So I hope this doesn't die. Anyone else is watching the screencast? Can you just check that you can see the screen?
This screencast.
I guess all of us can hear us, including the ones that are online. So I just wanted to go over what's going to happen on Monday and Tuesday, right? So basically, if you look at this, the orbital calendar, I don't know whether you've seen the calendar. If anyone responds on Slack, like Chai is on Slack, you guys, if you're on Slack, you guys can respond just to let them know what's going on.
Okay.
So in particular, on the 9th, let's see whether we can pull up Orbital. Okay, so on the screen, I think you should be able to see just what's going on. So Monday, when we get to iCubed at 9 o'clock, there'll be an introduction. I'll show the code.org video and a couple other things just to welcome to the Skylab. And I hope I will be able to introduce all of you by giving a shout out to you guys, and you guys can stand up and say who you are. So if you happen to be there at 9 in the morning, I know it's really early. It's early for me too. Then after that, you guys are welcome to stay in the auditorium and help out as advisors. And you guys are tutors? None of you are tutors. Hello. Yeah. So as advisors for the design thinking part, it's actually not that crucial. I think you guys can go around and also talk with your students and try to get a feel for what type of project they want to do. If you remember going through Orbital, you probably had not as strong an idea of how much you could accomplish in the summer. So people will come with you with crazy ideas, right? And say, I want to build this, 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 and this. And you're like, maybe even the first one's too hard, right? So then you can try to scope it down for them, right? So that will be the first 2.5 hours. Wee-Sun will go over design thinking. Wee-Sun says he's going to do something related to haze. So something like a maybe you can describe it.
Okay. So let me try to remember. So it's going to tie into the Google App Engine part of the tutorial that I'll be doing. Right? So that'll be their basic app that I guess sort of a template for the students. So the idea is that I guess when with all the haze, we want to do something. So part of as an example for the design thinking, I'll sort of be going through the sort of interview part, the feelings, and then the needs, then what you can do about it, and sort of brainstorm an idea. And the idea that I'll implement is to let people sort of share on Facebook that they want to make a pledge to buy sustainable products that would sort of eventually reduce the haze, right? So it's an app let people share on Facebook and let people get a reminder every time, like the haze goes over, let's say a few days of high haze, then you get a reminder about your pledge. So that's sort of the basic app that would be the thing that I guess we'll build for the Google App Engine. So that's an example I'll be using, but in the exercise, the students, if they, actually, do I have a default? I don't have a default sort of thing for them. So they're supposed to work on whatever in pairs, something that they may end up building, or it may be just an exercise. If they don't have something in mind, then I'll be suggesting something about life in SOC or university life, or like the one students normally come up with. So we'll go through design thinking with that. Hopefully they can talk about something interesting. Yeah. So that's the design thinking and the Google App Engine of the tutorial.
Okay, so basically during this first session where they're talking about design thinking, we hope teams will already have a really nascent idea about what project they'll do. And hopefully before we go to class on Monday, we'll have a set of slides by the mentors about their proposed projects too, so that if they don't have their own ideas, they can propose, take some from there. You guys are also welcome to, if you have some idea, especially if you're in another program like information security or business analytics, which is not our traditional CS, web app type of project, then you can also seed some ideas. So the teams that have that type of background, like business analytics folks, probably they don't want to do something like this, or maybe information security. It doesn't make sense to build a web app necessarily. Maybe you want to concentrate on attacking something that's already built, right? Then you can give some ideas for projects, and then we can see them in the slides too, right? It's not necessarily that you'll have to mentor it, but you can just get them started. Here are some ideas about things, and here's how I would do, how I would go about doing like a basic project. Like you can say what the basic project is, and then put one line bullet to say, if you were to do this at a more advanced level, this is the type of extension we'd like to see for that, right?
So for business analytics, there is data.graph.sg, which provides some data, which may or may not be useful. So I use that in the Haze app. I just get the Haze data from that. So if they can see an example of how to use the API in Python in the app. Yeah, there's, I don't know, some of the data may be useful in some form. It's not that hard to use. They have built fairly nice API now, I think. But data sets that's available that's useful maybe is a bit limited, but no, there's some. There's the traffic, I guess, rainfall, dengue, which maybe dengue is interesting, but there are APIs to get those sort of data.
Okay, then following right after that, there'll be lunch. So they have an hour lunch. Of course, I've already reminded them that an hour is not a lot of time, especially if you're in IQ. It's pretty far away from everything. So after that, we know people are going to drift in and out slowly. So we start with talking about the achievement levels from last year. And we're going to take some of the old projects that people did last year. We still have some of their posters. Hopefully we'll be able to put some outside of IQ Auditorium in the hallway there. If we can manage the logistics to get poster boards over there. Otherwise, we'll just tack them to the wall. So if you happen to talk to your teammates, ask them to look at the posters, especially we'll try to select ones that have more text on them. Because some of them are very emo type of posters, right? They'll just tell you about the thing, there's no detail. So we want some ones that have actual technical detail there. Okay, so following that, we'll have project brainstorming. This is the time when you guys can be really active, go through your groups if you're going to be there. And if you're not going to be there, especially those of you who are in Stack who are on a different time zone, you guys can team up with somebody who's local. So all of you who are actually going to be here on Monday or Tuesday, maybe you can tell people in Slack, okay, I will be around, I can shepherd your group if you're not around, right? Because they're like last year, most of our advisors are actually in NOC or in other programs, ATAP. So those of you who are here, thank you very much for being here. We definitely need the manpower on the ground. Okay, so we'll try to build a seating arrangement chart within IQ Auditorium like last year, such that we bunch all the people in EG together. Okay, do you guys have any comments on that arrangement so far? Okay, last year I tried something, you may remember, and it failed miserably, right? So it was like to try to get people more excited and to stand up and do things in the auditorium. So that didn't work very well. So if you guys have ideas about how to get a class of 300 people to participate, then we can try to figure out something. Google has, this year the swag is not as nice as last year. They're not giving water bottles this year. So the water bottles are like the participation prizes, and you get an Android trinket and a pen. So that's how much you get this year for participating in Orbital. So if we can find some ways to incentivize the crowd, you guys can help come up with ideas. Do you guys have any ideas about that? What's worked in the past if you worked in O Week or other types of organizations where you had to incentivize a class?
To me, it's the mentality before you enter the program. Because if you enter it as an education, like for a classroom setting kind of mentality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time that's the benchmark. So
Mm-hmm.
any higher, you just deviate back to the benchmark.
Mm-hmm.
But for like camps and all this, usually people going, the morale is very high already.
Uh-huh.
So it starts there.
Okay.
So it's the before part that's very important.
Mm-hmm. So the morale is still pretty low because you guys just took final exams, right? Yeah.
Or depleted, flat.
No batteries left, right? Yeah. Okay. So maybe it's more possible to do on the second day than the first day. I don't know. We can try a couple things, but if it may work better in small groups, right, where you guys are, let's say you're taking control of 1 or 2 ECs, including your own, then maybe you can do a small activity with them if you think that's appropriate. We can schedule time, let's say in the project brainstorming and past year time to do that. Basically what we can do is we can give a short narration of 1 or 2 projects and then build a slideshow where we just show those things on the screen for a while you guys have your activities with your EG, if that seems to work out better. But again, there's too many people, right? There's about 300 people. There's only maybe 5 or 6 of you who are actually going to be present. And it's going to be pretty difficult to do. What do you guys think? Should we do something interactive, or should we just treat it like a classroom lecture?
There's only 5 or 6 of us. I think it's hard to do the split to the teams.
So we should have to do it as an entire class. Will that backfire like last year? It might backfire. Okay, better not to try, right? Okay, that's fine. So maybe we'll scratch that part. We'll just treat it as, when you guys you can interact with different people. So Nicholas says, I'm sorry, I didn't catch what he said. Difficult, yeah, you're right. So definitely that's different. And Nicholas also brought up the data.gov.sg developers. So yeah, we can definitely highlight that as part of what's going on there. Thanks, Nicholas, for pulling those up. So after the project brainstorming, we're going to have Winston Teal. He came in, I think, 2 years ago, if you were part of the cohort 2 years back, to talk about Agile. So actually last year I presented his slides. So actually we get the real thing coming back instead of me trying to pretend I know something about Agile. So he'll be presenting until about 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock, the Google people are going to show up, and at 3:30 they're going to have their first part. So this guy called David Zhu, he was actually a startup, a creator of a startup called Divide. I don't know much about it, but he was acquired by Google for, I don't know, X millions of dollars. And then he's now here to give an introduction about the NBU program. That's the next billion users, not billion years, billion users program. So they're trying to get 1 billion more users in undeveloped countries around Southeast Asia, including India and Indonesia. So he'll be talking, but they've only allocated 30 minutes to his talk. Okay, so very crucially, I put on the spreadsheet here. I'm going to highlight the slide for you guys as advisors. We need people to come up with questions during the Google Talk, right? So I will try my best to do some too, but if you guys are also thinking, or you encourage your EG to say, hey, maybe you could ask a question and get noticed by Google employees, because they're going to have recruiters there too. So if you ask good questions, it might, it will make the class more interesting, first of all, most importantly, but it will make our hosts feel like there's actually someone paying attention. Right? I think it shouldn't be that bad, because there are 300 students and Google's still somewhat of a valued employee, right? So I think people are willing to ask questions.
Usually you need somebody to start then. So if you guys can help start, then we get the real questions.
Yeah, like if one or two of you don't mind, like we could assign one or two of you just to look over what David's done in the past, or find any information about NBU, and then try to ask a general question. It doesn't need to be, oh, I've read, and I watched these videos and now I have this, technical question for you, right? Nothing of that sort. So that's one of the things. So we did the icebreaker response, so we're going to ditch that. And we talked about this. Anyone here is interested in doing questions for the Google session? Not offhand? Okay, then I'll ask on Slack, or you can volunteer later. Yeah. So we covered the seating chart. So I think one thing for the seating chart is we need to know who is actually going to be around on Monday and Tuesday. And so if we have a list, then I'll try to put your EGs sort of towards the middle, so that you can easily walk to the sides and talk to other people in the other EG groups. Yeah. So if you can tell me on Slack, just in the general channel or in the advisors channel, hey man, I'm going to be here Monday and Tuesday, but I'm going to be gone for these hours or whatever, that would be fine. I'll try to compile that and then release the seating chart by maybe later tonight. Okay. We should finish up the schedule first. So let's go back to the schedule. So after that, after David's talk, we're going to have our first technical session. It's going to be split into two parts. And then we need your opinion on this. Actually, we're not sure. We're going to be doing Android. We don't have a speaker for that. So actually, I have to learn Android in the next 48 hours to present 2 hours of lecture. So luckily, we have a recording of that from last year. So I'm going to go through that and then do the same thing. So, and then Jia Yi from NUS Hackers is going to do HTML, CSS. She's provided slides. I haven't looked through them, but if she's not doing Bootstrap, that's a good thing. But if she is, then we'll try to figure out what else to do for mission control. So those sessions will last 2 hours. We need to know from you guys, which do you think will be more popular? Do you think people will be going to HTML, CSS more? Or you think most people know that already and they're more interested in Droid? Or you think people already know Droid and they're not so clear about that?
So the capacity of the place is, one is 300, the other is 100.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, we want to put the popular one in the bigger room.
For last batch, right? Because we are from IS, then the 1010 event is 1010 Java.
Right.
So our cohort, right, like me and all of our IS friends, right, we are more inclined to go towards Android. Because it's something really
You know Java, but you don't know. Okay, so you want to pick up Android.
Yeah, because it's on the way on something. Yeah. Right. So that's how we actually go about our train of thoughts.
Okay. Right.
For me, it was, I really know which way was it was same when we were French
We expect more. It sounds like we might expect more in Android. Right.
So what do you guys think? I'm sorry.
Android
is
seems
more
like
popular.
the popular one.
Okay. Then
And actually, I think Google's focus on Android. More jobs.
so Jia Yi, if you haven't already covered Bootstrap in your slides, it's okay. We can cover it later. But if you've already put it in your slides, it's fine. You can keep it there. Yeah. Okay. So we'll keep the Droid basics in the auditorium, and then we'll do the HTML, CSS. Jai will cover that in the seminar room. Both of these should be broadcast through Google Hangouts on Air. So Jai, I hope you're familiar with how to use Hangouts on Air, and then you can try to broadcast through your account, and then we'll just put it on the Google, the Orbital playlist of YouTube videos. Okay, so yeah, it helps to put a screencast, and if you have something to highlight mice or something like that, it's very helpful when you're reviewing webcasts. I can't watch webcasts without a cursor somewhere. Okay, then after that, we're going to adjourn to mentor matching for those of the teams who are in intermediate and advanced. And so we also need to get from you guys during this session what the feel is from your teams, whether they want to have a mentor or not. So this year we have a much larger expanded mentor team, and we have also expanded the program not to just target advanced, but also intermediate teams. And we are trying to recruit more mentors even from within the school. So advanced students who took Orbital many years ago, well, not so many years ago. Okay, so we're going to be in the hangar. The hangar is about a capacity of 100. So that means it's actually going to be a little hard to fit because we have, let's say, 50 teams. That's already 100 people, and that's not including the mentors. So actually, hopefully this will work out, but I'm not 100% sure it will, because with 100 people, you need name tags in the system to meet people, and I haven't compiled any of that data yet, so I need to print name tags and things of that sort. But hopefully it will go well. If you guys are around, you can help direct people. The problem with mentor matching is always that if you've been to one, people start to talk and get very engrossed. So they find it hard to tear them apart so they can talk to other people. And the other thing that happens a lot is that mentors and students get attached to certain people. So there will be a lot of mentors who say, I only want this team. And, and there will be a lot of students who say, I only want this mentor. And then there's going to be a lot of unsatisfied people. So try to emphasize or encourage people to, just look for a mentor who's available, open-minded, who has an appropriate mindset. I think most of our mentors are that way, and the same way the other way around. Okay, so that will conclude the first day. Hopefully it's not too exhausting. Again, for those of you who are advisors, you don't have to be here for the whole thing. Just be here for the times that you can. Right, especially the technical sessions. If some of you are in Droid basics and know a little bit of Droid, or HTML or CSS, you can help on Slack as well as help in person, going around and just bothering people. Do you know what's going on? Is it okay? If they're watching other things, never mind. Right, they're watching YouTube videos from other things or Korean dramas or whatever. Okay, then the second day we're going to start early. Google has decided they're going to come in early at 9 o'clock to go over hiring practices in Google. So again, there's doing 30 minutes of QA at the end. So again, if you have questions, or you can take popular questions that other people have asked on other websites and ask them again, that would be appropriate for that session, if you happen to be there at 9 on the second day. Yeah, I do have some sample slides for reference for projects. I'll try to put them up later. Then after that, from 10 o'clock onwards, we're going to have 2 parallel sessions. Jai will be returning to teach Ruby on Rails. We think that's going to be more popular than Python and Google App Engine, but we're not sure about that. What do you guys think? Not really sure. I think most of the teams that we had last year eventually finished Project Gemini, but I don't know how many of them started out thinking that they could do that. And when they did that, it's usually that they, a fair amount of them didn't actually use Python and Google App Engine. Some of them stay with Python and went Django or Flask, but many of them decided to ditch Python altogether, like Ruby or Node or something else. So again, we can try to make a prediction of poll in class, but if you guys know ahead of time which framework you guys think is going to be more popular, we can try to field that in the appropriate area. Any opinions on that? No?
I think it's Rails.
Rails, yeah, Ruby on
Last
Rails.
year Rails was flooded. It was like the whole LT was filled.
The whole LT was filled up. That was in the seminar room, right?
LT19.
LT19. Okay, then definitely we need to use the auditorium. Yeah, that's the bigger space. Yeah. I remember H2O and CSS was not as full. We had a pretty not so full classroom in the auditorium. So yeah, we'll leave it to Jayi to manage the Ruby on Rails and in the auditorium, and Python and Google App Engine will be in the hangar. You've been to the hangar, right? The hangar is not a teaching space, so it's going to be a little bit annoying to teach there because it's flat with chairs, and the chairs do not have benches for people to type on. So that's the problem with doing Python, which David 10 is doing from NUS Hackers, and then followed by Lisan to teach.
So there's no bench.
Yeah.
It's
Laptop.
Okay.
Yeah. So we couldn't get the i3 seminar room, which we're using for the first day. So that's why we can't do that. After lunch, there's presentation skills. So we may or may not have this session. Currently, I'm slated to do that. So that will be a recap of the last 2 years where we talk about how to do a 1-minute pitch, because they have to do it for Ignition. Then Xinyu will be teaching web requests and server frameworks. So if you have some ideas about what you'd like to see in that, I think he's still open to suggestions. Basically, I think he's going to cover, how to deal with a virtual machine. Like I think he's either going to show DigitalOcean or Amazon EC2, how to sign up for that and how to set up things on there and get started. Then we'll all be back in i3 auditorium for Git Basics, also covered by NUS Hackers. Advay is going to cover this. And so it's really funny. Actually, the 3 people from NUS Hackers who are doing the tutorials are Orbital students. Yeah, so that's sort of ironic, right? And then the last session is Ignition. You guys all remember this. You probably remember it if you were there last year. It was way, way, way too long. So we're going to split it up into 2 parts. Okay, we have to find some way of partitioning the teams into 2 groups. One group is going to go to the hangar to do it, and one group is going to stay in i3 auditorium. So we've allocated 2 hours to this. So if you have about 175 teams, basically 100 teams per room, then it's basically going to be an hour and 40 minutes. So we think we can comfortably do it in 2 hours. The problem is seating capacity again. Yeah, but we'll probably have to make the hangar group slightly smaller to accommodate that. So we can think about how to partition this. I think the easiest thing to do is take some of your EGs and put them in the hangar rather than to partition it any other way. So that way it's more cohesive, and then you guys, if you're around, can accompany them and help them out with the session. Okay. We need somebody to help with each of these, because somebody has to do the MC, somebody has to work the slides, and somebody has to do the collation. There's always this big problem that teams turn in their slides late. They turn it in some funny format. They give you a PPT when they ask for PDF, and they give you a PPT that has 7 slides instead of 1. All these types of things happen. So we just try our best, but we need at least 1 volunteer that can help Wee-Sun or myself on the other side in the hangar to run it. Okay, and it needs to be again broadcast. So we're either going to put it up on Hangouts on Air, or we're going to record it and then post-process and then stick it up. I think Hangouts on Air is great, because then when it's done, I don't touch it anymore. When it's recorded, then you have to do conversion and all that video processing. It's annoying. Okay, then the last session is orbital workflow. This is where we're going to go through Skylab. We're going to go through the 3 milestones. Have you guys logged into Skylab?
Yeah.
Yes. Were you able to see your teams and things? If there are any problems with Skylab that you think needs to be fixed, or functionality that's not there, we need to get them fixed ASAP. Yeah. Did you guys notice any problems? Not yet. Okay. So one thing that's not there right now are all the milestones. So actually we want to have all the templates for all of the forms for all 3 evaluations up there, so that you can tell your teams this is what you need to look forward to for milestone 2, 3, even though it's only not even milestone 1 now, so that they can, like you guys fed back to me in the brainstorming group, we don't know what we're going to be evaluated on until the week of. It's too late, right? So we're going to try to do that. Okay, so that goes through the whole schedule. For mission control, I think you may have seen, but let me just quickly go over that anyway, since we are here. Okay. Number 1, mission control 1 will be on, I think, Bootstrap mostly, and jQuery, those 2 topics. Again, we don't have any volunteers for that. So it looks like I will have to do the teaching again. So unless you know someone who's willing to do Bootstrap and jQuery, I will study for that this coming week and then do it after I finish the Joy tutorial. Okay, for mission control 2, GDG is supposed to come down. So Shun Hao, who was a student last year, has done Pygame before, so he's going to cover that. That will be a plugin at block 71. So if you're interested in that, you can come there too. For mission control 3, that's at the end of the month. That's right after milestone 1 is due. That will be web security. So Gray Hats is going to do this session for us. For mission control 4, we have machine learning. So I think a lot of people are interested in big data and machine learning. So I thought maybe it'd be nice to cover a simple scikit-learn tutorial or something like that. So I will cover that, since that's, both of us have expertise in that area. So that should be very easy to do. And then number 5, we still don't have a topic, but I think you said OCDC is interested in giving a fintech tutorial. Yeah. Talk. Okay. And then we have another person who's interested in giving a test-driven development, behavior-driven development tutorial, which I think is also quite nice to complement Agile. So those 2 talks, that's Calvin Cheng. So he may come in and do that talk on maybe the 21st. So that will be mission control 6, or we can postpone 1. So that's all of Orbital. Let me quickly go over what else we need to do for advisors and things like that. So the first off is in the worksheet, you see we need assistance to the tutors during liftoff, especially if they've scheduled anything that's interactive, okay, where we need people to volunteer. We need you guys on Slack to help out, to encourage people to try to post solutions to exercises. You can do the exercises themselves, try to do that. Or if you happen to be in-house, then you can wander around the room and ask them if you happen to know how to do that. That work is helpful, if not just give them general hints. Oh, you can Stack Overflow that. Okay. Then, as I mentioned, at Ignition, we need at least 1 person in each room to help compile the slides for Ignition. We don't have a software framework for that. I mean, originally we wanted to get the Skylab to hold the slides and compile the deck for us, but we haven't done that yet. And I think the most crucial part of your duties for Monday and Tuesday is to help connect with your teams. As I told you guys all, the most important part of being an advisor is to have a human face to Orbital. I mean, 1 out of 300 people see this 1 person on stage. Just doesn't count. So you guys have to be present and interact with the teams and help them scope their projects. I think this makes Orbital a real good opportunity to connect with your juniors, as I said before. Try to ensure by the end of the morning session in the 2nd day, let me see what I can find out. Around lunchtime or presentation skills, about maybe 2:30 in the afternoon, we need all the pitch material in. So we need to make sure each group has 1 slide that they've provided to whoever's going to serialize the slides, okay? So that we can order them. So we need to compile that. Okay, posting things to Slack. I think that's also something you guys can do, is encourage not just your EGs, but the general population, get them fired up if you can. Post random things to random, so that there's things to look at and get distracted with, like random cats or whatever. Yeah, I think that's about it. Yeah. Do you guys have any questions that you want to field?
I got one.
Yeah.
Because Monday, Tuesday, I'll be at APEC.
Okay.
So for me, my plan is right, usually at this time of period, I will coordinate with my group at night time.
Mm-hmm.
Is that still okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. If you happen to be available on Slack during the day, you can just, send them a message or two. Sometimes what I do is when I need to have interactivity and I don't have enough time to write the posts, I'll write them ahead of time. And then when it's the right time, I'll set up a notification to say, okay, post this, right? Because unfortunately, Slack doesn't have scheduled posts like Facebook does, right? So you can copy and then paste and boom, all right, all done. Yeah, and then you can have all of that done. That's a good question, though. Other questions?
And two members will go for the peer call. Is there any instructions that you follow?
Yeah, I haven't written the post. This is what they need to do. Just like last year's, they need to include their team name members. Okay, they need to include their aim level of achievement, uh, and then their team name. Those three things, right? Put it on their slide in any shape or form. It could be even footnote size, doesn't matter, right? And then save the rest of the space for whatever they want to pitch, right? So when they give their video pitch, also, if both team members are not around, they have to record a 1-minute video pitch. Okay. Some people think 1 minute means 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, but please tell them to stick to 1 minute, 1 minute 00 seconds. Okay, so that we can finish ignition in a reasonable amount of time. Okay, and ask them to stick to one PowerPoint slide. We had talking heads last time. That's not so nice, right? You don't want to see everyone's heads moving around on the video. Okay, so yeah, those are the things to do. You do need to keep track of who is not at liftoff so that when it comes back to milestone 1, you can check their evaluation log. Those people who didn't attend liftoff cannot claim the hours for liftoff, right? Yeah. So some people may forget and they may say, oh, I was at liftoff actually, and they weren't, right? So just make sure. Okay, so we need you to be the eyes and ears for all of your students who are not going to be checking them. You will have to be the ones to check, but of course you can be as gracious as you want. You have to be. Okay, I'll just go over the other things for the other people who are online too, since all of you are advisors. So tutors will need to have installation instructions ready for all of the software packages that you need installed for, like say, Git. For Android, we need to have a small sheet of that. I think Jai has already included some for Rails installation instructions. That's great. Where possible, if you have the slides already, you can serialize them into PDF and we can put them up on Slack so people can view them on their laptops while doing that. I don't think we're going to prepare printed copies. It's just a nightmare to do that logistically. So we're not going to do that. And if you are going to have interactive quizzes, that would be best. Try to work in some type of participation on Slack so that we can be using the Slack platform for something else than rather just chatting, right? For some use during the time. So last year we did some screenshots, I think, of Code Academy. That looked okay, I guess. Do you guys have any feedback about how to use Slack? Or do you guys use Slack in your own work? Not much, yes. What's an effective use of Slack that you see that we could use in Orbital?
So even my own team is quite unsure this experiment.
Okay. Yeah. So I hope you guys all as advisors will be a good network with each other. So in particular, if you have some knowledge, you can share it with us on the staff channel, right? And then you can say, okay, this is a post that I've prepared for my EG. Okay, but feel free to rebroadcast it, but please credit me for the work, right? So that everyone knows that I'm a good advisor too, right? So in particular, it's nice if you can keep track of them every week. So even if, like, say, some of you guys know each other, you could network within each other to say, okay, I'm going to prepare a post this week, and you can prepare a post next week, and we'll just, broadcast it to our respective EGs. Right. This is also the reason why I put you in other people's EG, so that when you get a broadcast from one person, then you can say, oh, that's a great piece of information. I'd also like to share. I already see some of you doing that, right? So try to propagate that information. If you don't mind propagating it to the entire group, also post it into advisors. I think she did one, right? We could let everyone know what's good for his introductory statement. Okay. Yeah. So, Jai, I think you can disseminate the materials, the installation instructions, the ones over here. You can do that by Slack, but let me do that. Let me give you some instructions about that later on how to do that. Okay. So the last couple of things are to deal with mentors. Mentors need to get their slides for projects ready. So I need to, again, show a template for that. So I'll get to do that soon. And we need all the mentors to show up at mentor matching, and that will be at 6:30 in the hangar. So if you're confused about how to get to hangar because it's a new place, don't worry. Maybe we will try to get someone to show you where it is. Basically, you need to come into I3 building through the main entrance near the parking lot, and right there you'll see the hangar. It's got a big H on the bottom of the floor. It's very industrial looking. It looks a little bit like Block 71 if you've been there. Yeah, so we need the slides before Monday so that we can serialize them to show to people. I think that's it. Anything else you guys? Okay. Okay, so great. Thanks so much for coming. I know it's the easiest time to come here because probably off your medicines already. Okay. So we look forward to all of you on Monday. Okay. Thanks for coming. Okay. Thanks. Anyone from remote have any questions? Might take us a little bit of time to propagate all the way through the webcast. Right. Sure. Okay. Yeah, if you're in the TR module, I think you guys in IQ? You guys are, right? Oh, in Newtown. Oh, it's so far. Too bad. I was about to say, you can just come downstairs and say hi. If you're in Newtown, then you can say hi to them virtually. Yeah, the people in NLC support the program. In fact, they're actually going to come down, I think, the first day to talk about NLC. So they might actually try to hijack some of you to talk about it too. Okay. All right, thanks a lot. That's all.
Thanks. So
Yeah, you can go up. Yeah. Sorry about that.